As you see from the next image, we are going to deal with all sorts of land in private and public ownership, and we've placed that land into three categories, which are really challenging to balance against each other. Putting farming first is deliberate. It's the history of my own family, and I believe it's vitally important for keeping our communities alive and making sure our supply of food is the healthiest and best value we can achieve. That being said, I should like to turn to heritage first and take the clock back 200 years to a time when the landscape was very different. In these pictures, you see that few trees were growing on our eastern hillside or along the valley floor in those days. And it seems from this postcard this was still fairly true, even in the 20th century. My colleague Bob is blunt about this. We should cut 'em all down, he says. Well, no, Bob, we won't be cutting down hundreds of trees, but in certain key places, yes. We do need quickly to come up with plans and commence a schedule of removing largest trunks where they are threatening historic structures. We've already received approval from private landowners for doing this in a few locations. One, an ancient bridge where there was almost no mortar to hold the granites together and roots were pushing those walls apart. Threats like this can be seen throughout the World Heritage Site on land that is both private and council owned, and therefore our action point 1 is that we need a survey linking with this Google Maps database to prioritise the locations most in need of attention of tree trunk and ivy removal. And we need to get on through the winter to tackle those bad places. Of all the structures under threat, the sides of our historic tramways are most in need of urgent attention, as you can see here. And this tree is very close indeed to the base of a viaduct pillar. Moving on, let's think about managing the remaining trees in their various and diverse wooded areas. There's the smallest, little copses of willow and hazel, mostly just going wild, but in one place there's a landowner coppicing and using those offcuts to make baskets and charcoal. Then there are the areas, particularly within disused quarries, of undergrowth gone wild. Lots of fallen, rotting small trees and surrounded by numerous hints that this is temperate rainforest habitat. You will see curtains of old man's beard above rocks painted deep green by mosses and with brighter green of ferns around the base. Finally, we come to the more openly spaced woodland. On the north side of valley, we have massive beech trees and a mix of other broadleaved species. Cornwall Council list refers to the central area, Carmere's Wood, of mature broadleaf trees as semi-natural ancient woodland, which means it's been forested for at least 400 years and is made up of mostly native trees and shrubs. Their report also mentions old oak coppice and paddocks. On the south and west slopes, sweeping around the hillside of Priddicks, there is another area of ancient woodland, mostly replaced in the 1960s by conifers. The owners today, who are Cornwall Wildlife Trust, are gradually replacing the pines with broadleaf species and take great care to keep walkers away from the various mine shafts hiding in the undergrowth, which are known to be haunts for rare bats. With such a mixture of types of woodland, including the heritage parts and rare temperate rainforests, I was surprised to find that no formal Forestry Commission approved management plan has ever been created, or I can't find one. Therefore, action point 2 is to create our own plan and use an existing and similar example as a model. As you see, the one I've studied closely and believe could be very useful is miles away. the award-winning and generously funded Stanmer Park woodland restoration near Brighton. The similarities are that it contains significant and highly valued historic structures, meaning we could almost lift their goals word for word. Listen. Goals: to preserve the 18th century landscape. Ours is mostly 19th. Making it accessible to future generations and enhancing the park's natural and historic features, whilst also helping to open up the canopy and enable regeneration and planting of new trees. It has also achieved outputs in the form of coppiced products such as wood fuel and timber. All of those also seem to be what we need.